upside-down cakes are baked with a sauce and fruit layer at the bottom. Then you flip over the cake to show off all that beautiful goodness now on top. I started by showing you the fundamentals, a classic pineapple upside-down cake. With that basic skill mastered, I was able to move you up a level to lemon berry saucing cakes. Now that recipe took a little more finesse, and the cake batter itself developed the sauce. Now it's time for the ultimate in upside-down cakes. Brown butter, cranberry, gingerbread upside-down cakes. This is definitely a dessert worthy of a restaurant dessert menu. So let's start with the cranberries, 1.5 cups of fresh cranberries. Now, something interesting to note about cranberries is they float when they're intact. So if you were to put these at the bottom of an upside-down cake, as it bakes, they would actually float up to the top. We don't want that. So by pulsing them, using a little food processor, and with 1/3 cup of sugar, that will actually prevent them from floating as the cakes bake. Just coarsely chopped. And there we go. So now I'll get started on the sauce. And this is where the brown butter begins. I'm going to use brown butter 3 times in this recipe. Once for the sauce, once for the cake batter itself, and then once for the caramel sauce. So I'm melting 1/4 cup of unsalted butter on high heat. As the butter melts, you can see it's getting all frothy. Then the froth will subside, and you'll actually be able to see the butter turn brown. And it lends a beautiful nuttiness, especially to fall-type desserts like this one. There, I've got that beautiful brown color, and in French, they refer to this as beurre noisette. It has this toasted hazelnut character to it. Now I can add my 1/4 cup of maple syrup and 1/4 cup of dark brown sugar. And I'll just stir this until the sugar has dissolved. There we go. Once it starts bubbling again, it's all done. Now, I'll pour this into 6 individual ramekins that have been lightly greased. As you can see, this is a very fluid sauce, and I had to make it that way to balance out with the pectin that's naturally present in cranberries. And so they'll actually work to set the sauce a little bit. Think of strawberry jam and how it sets up. That's pectin at work. So now I'll spoon the fresh cranberries into the sauce. Now that I've got the sauce and the fruit laid into the ramekins, I can move on to the gingerbread cake batter, again with brown butter as a base. This time I have 1/3 cup. Ooh, there it goes. Now that I've hit that beautiful brown color, I turn down the heat, and I'll get my ingredients to add to this. 1/4 cup of maple syrup, 1/4 cup of fancy molasses, cranberry juice, 1/4 cup of that, and I'll add this to the brown butter, and I've still got this on low heat while I add 1/4 cup of dark brown sugar. So I've just warmed it through, just like making the sauce, to ensure the brown sugar has dissolved. And now I can pour this into a bowl so I can add the other ingredients. I love using freshly grated ginger in my gingerbread recipe, so a good tablespoon of freshly grated ginger. And to balance out the sweetness, a couple of teaspoons of lemon zest. There we go, and that's the base for the gingerbread cake. Now for the dry ingredients. 1 cup of all-purpose flour, and I'll add an assortment of spices. 3/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 3/4 teaspoon of ground ginger, 1/4 teaspoon of ground clove, and just a touch of nutmeg, 1/8 teaspoon. And then 3/4 teaspoon of baking soda. Just sift this all together and add this all at once to that liquid base. Just whisk it until it's smooth. And the last ingredient to add is a single egg. There we go. And the guideline to follow when filling your upside-down cakes, pour the batter over the fruit gently so it stays in place. And these are ready for the oven. Takes 30 minutes in a 350 oven. Oh, you can't beat the smell of gingerbread. Oh, it smells so good. Look at those desserts. Now, I do have to let these cool for a few minutes before I turn them out. Now for the caramel sauce, which is sugar, water, and a little corn syrup boiled over a high heat until it's caramelized. I take it off the heat and whisk in that remaining browned butter and a little vanilla. Now, it's still too hot to use right now, and I have some that has cooled. It's still a little warm to touch, and it's time to plate the gingerbread cake. Pop the plate over, flip, and reveal that gorgeous cranberry, now topping, it's no longer on the bottom, and then I think a pool of caramel sauce is appropriate. Oh, so sticky. Isn't that glowing and lovely? Perfect for a holiday meal or any fall-time treat. Oh, and it's so soft. Honestly, the fruit and sauce layer makes this better than any gingerbread you've ever had. And that brown butter taste can't be beat.